12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Get your college football fix all year long on the Chuck Oliver Show. The king of college football brings you 2 hours of live and local college football talk throughout the year.
Chuck Oliver, weeknights from 8 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Anytime. Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Sandegriff.
Just running a little late here today, guys. Getting into the show. I want to apologize. We didn't have time to do our normal pre-show meeting. I was down in accounting. Turns out they paid me an extra $12 last year, and I got to pay it back. The whole $12. We're going to work it out over Gordy was in the meeting. Flynn was in the meeting. They were all in the meeting, and it turns out they overpaid me by $12. I got to pay that back. I don't want to pay it back all at one time, so I'm going to pay them back in increments over the next year, $1 a month. It was fair. I mean, it's an accounting error. It was $12. Could have happened to anybody. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. When I was working for the LSU Sports Network, I did a series in Arkansas. It was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and the team, of course, was chartering. And this was back before every member of the traveling party got on the charter. Back then, if you got on the charter with the network, you did. If there was a seat open, you got it. If there wasn't, you had to fly commercial or you had to drive, depending on where we were going. So there's a flight there's a charter flight leaving Fayetteville on Saturday afternoon, and it's after the game, probably somewhere around 5 or 6 o'clock. They're going to be back in Baton Rouge 7:30 or something like that. My alternative, if I didn't get on that charter flight, because Fayetteville is not exactly, O'Hare Airport, that the next flight that I was going to get on that they had originally booked for me was on Sunday night, a full 24 hours later, okay? And just for fun, it went through Atlanta. So I was going to get back to Baton Rouge at about 11 o'clock on Sunday night. So my choices were try to get on the charter and get home at 7 o'clock, 7:30 on Saturday night, which was a direct flight on a charter flight, or get on a commercial airline, fly to Atlanta, have a layover, and get back at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. So you can guess which one I wanted. So I go to the, traveling secretary, and I say, listen, you guys got a seat on the plane. I say, yeah, we got a seat on the plane. Fantastic. I'll take it. Well, that gets back to the guys over at the network, and they call me and they say, you can't get on that plane. I said, why? I said, because the university is going to charge the network, partners now, the university is going to charge the network for that plane. I said, okay, but if you leave me in Fayetteville for another day, you got to pay for another night at a hotel. You got to pay for, another day's worth of meals. You got to, I got to check the rental car in later after that. Certainly, this is going to be cheaper if you just pay the university for the flight. Well, no, because they had worked trade with the air flight through Atlanta, okay? And they had worked trade for the rental car. It was a little bit cheaper. It wasn't free, but it was a little bit cheaper. Why am I telling you this story? Because I lost. I spent another day in Fayetteville. I spent hours in the Atlanta airport. I got home on Sunday night so that the network and the university could square up a bill of well less than $1,000, okay? The only person inconvenienced in the whole deal was me and some intern that they stuck with me, okay, whose name I don't even remember. I tell you all this to tell you that there is no way that they missed $1 million for half a year, okay? I went through an act of Congress over a airline ticket. Now, this is 10 years ago or something like that. I don't even remember what year it was. But they just missed $1 million. They count the nickels over there pretty good. I'm here to tell you, all right? I've seen it firsthand. I can tell you about it from my seat at the Atlanta airport bar. $1 million? Oh yeah, it was over there a minute ago, and we just missed it. Oopsie. Come on, man. Oh yeah, we just overpaid him by $1 million, and nobody noticed for half a year. Am I the only person that finds this screwy? I mean, again, I just told you a 100% true story of my own personal experience about how close they watched the Nichols over there. But they just misplaced $1 million for 6 months. Whatever, dude. All I know is I owe guarantee $12. And if I don't pay it back with interest inside of a year, well, there's going to be a penalty to pay. All right. The Timberwolves beat the Pelicans last night, 111-102. It did mark the return of Brandon Ingram. Willie Green on the loss to Minnesota.
We got to be consistent. And right now, we're not. And it's the common theme with our group over the last, 4 or 5 games or so is that it's always one quarter where it just gets away. And it's something I got to figure out and something our team has to figure out. And we will, but right now we're just going through it, and we have to pick up our juice and be consistent doing it.
The quarter was the third. Pels actually led this thing by 6 at the half, and everything looked fine. Now, Brandon Ingram was rusty, and we figured as much. It was good just to see him back out on the court. What I wanted to see from Brandon Ingram last night was an athlete that wasn't compromised. Did he look like he was favoring anything? And he didn't. There was a shot that he hit late in the game, inside of 2 minutes, that was a fall-away jumper from the baseline. It was a very difficult shot to hit, and he hit it. So I feel pretty good about his return from an athletic standpoint. I realize it's going to take a little bit of time for the shot to come back. What I didn't expect was Minnesota to run away with this thing as much as they did in the third quarter. I really felt like at halftime the Pelicans were controlling the game. It was not a massive margin, but I felt like they were in control of the game. I thought that would really kick in the second half. And the bench, played reasonably well as some of the minutes could come down because you got Ingram back in the starting lineup. But that didn't happen. They got completely blown away in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, the emotions got back to New Orleans a little bit. And you could see Jose Alvarado on a particular play in the fourth quarter, and he's kind of getting into it with the official. And the official let him have his say. Mario, you're smiling because you're watching the play that I was watching with.
Yeah, and we're talking about your favorite thing.
Officiating, right. Well, I have to set up the clip. I'm not even saying the guy made a bad call on the first one, when he let Alvarado kind of talk, all right? But the second foul, which was a loose ball foul, was a pretty questionable call, and Jose takes the ball and he slams it down. He catches it. It's not one of those he spiked it like a football. He just kind of slams it down and he catches it and he gets teed up. And it was a pretty ticky-tack call. And Willie Green, the frustration just boiled over on him. And for the first time in his Pelicans career, he got run.
I disagreed with the foul and the technical that Jose got. And, I kind of voiced my displeasure with it and pretty animated about how I felt about it.
He was right. I got no problem with Willie Green expressing himself there. Every now and then you gotta exert yourself to the officials in that game. So I was fine with it. He's never been ejected before. And if you watch Willie Green coach, he's usually very, very tactical. He's very methodical, I guess, in the way he goes about doing things. He's not a screamer. He's not somebody that's going to jump up and down. He's not somebody that's going to get in the officials' ears, real animated like a baseball manager getting in an umpire's face. He works them just like every other coach. He's just not really as animated as that about it. So that this had to really, really catch him. Boy, did you catch me on the wrong day. Got it. The technical, I'm not going to tell you that this changed the outcome. Minnesota had a comfortable lead, at this point. McDaniels is 3. I thought at the end when they cut it to 4 was the shot that really did New Orleans in. But it was just another layer. I thought that this was a game that the Pelicans would win. When we left here yesterday, Brandon Ingram coming back was going to give them a jolt of enthusiasm, I thought, even if he didn't score his normal 20, 22, 25 points or whatever. I thought it would give them it would help their rotations, obviously. It would give them another big score. It would open up some looks for C.J. McCollum, which it did. He just didn't knock down as many as you would like to see. And given the fact that they had lost 5 in a row, I thought that the sense of urgency would have been ratcheted up a little bit more. And it was for 3 out of the 4 quarters. But the third quarter was what did them in. Here's the thing. You got one game coming up here on Saturday with Washington before you got to get back out on the road. I don't want to call this thing crucial. It's still January, but you've lost 6 in a row. And after the Wizards come in on Saturday, you got a 3-game road trip with Milwaukee, Denver, and Dallas, and you could easily lose all 3 of those games. So this could spiral on you. You're now a half game ahead of the Clippers for 5th place. And we told you yesterday about how jumbled up things are and the difference between making the playoffs and not having a bye or not having to play in the play-in, you know what I'm talking about, and being out of the playoffs altogether is a couple of bad weeks or a couple of good weeks to put you in position. So while I didn't call that game on last night critical, okay, it's not like the season is over or anything, Saturdays feels like a really, really urgent spot. We're not going to shut the season down if they lose, but that's a team that you should beat. You've lost 6 in a row, and you're about to go on the road for 3. You need that game. The overall story of the night was the return of Brandon Ingram, and this is how C.J. McCollum saw it.
Get a win for him and for our fans, but obviously he's getting his win back. 2 months without basketball is a long time. He's been getting his conditioning and getting some 5-on-5 in, but rhythm, timing, getting some real game reps, getting some real practices will help him. But it was really good to see him back out there moving, how he normally moves.
More on the Pels with Oleh Kosel from the Bird Rights when we come back. At the bottom of the hour, Michael Cowell from WBRZ Channel 2 will be with us, along with Taylor Sharp, Mario Jerez. I'm Charles Hannegriff. This is Hanny Time.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge here with deals to begin 2023. 3.9% APR for 60 months on most models available right now. And loyalty cash coming back your way on the MDX and the TLX. $1,000 loyalty cash bonuses there. All 2023 models with a 2-year, 24,000-mile complimentary scheduled maintenance plan. And if you're in the market for a certified pre-owned vehicle, know that all of these vehicles have been through a rigorous inspection to get them back up to code. You're going to get 7 years and 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. Roadside assistance, and your first scheduled maintenance is free. Also, complimentary vehicles while your car is being serviced. Transparency in pricing, a family atmosphere. It's why we're going shopping once again at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ATEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Miller Lite has more taste and only one more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird.
Championship Sunday in the NFL playoffs. Tune in Sunday at 2 p.m. when the Eagles host the 49ers for the NFC Championship. Then the Chiefs host the Bengals at 5:30 for the AFC Championship. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pels lose their sixth straight last night to the T-Wolves, 111-102. Oleh Kosel from the Bird Rights was at the Blender last night. Oleh, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Charles. And I got to say that music leading into this interview is appropriate. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Hey,
let's hope the Pelicans can get it back up again.
Mario's on the trigger, man. He's perfect at this stuff, and a dedicated Pels fan as well. So I know what he's talking about there. All right, so this game was really about Brandon Ingram coming back and what that was going to look like. What did you see out of BI last night?
Pretty much, I saw a lot of good things. He started off the game with a beautiful pass to C.J. McCollum, and I don't think C.J.'s had a more open catch-and-shoot three since Zion Williamson went down, right, with a hamstring injury. So we immediately saw what B.I. does for the offense, where he's going to command so much gravity that he's going to leave guys open. Problem is, Pelicans didn't make enough shots, and that was Brandon included. So he made, I think, 4 of 18 shots, and once again, that was the theme, the offense struggling to score points, which has really plagued the team for the last couple of weeks, and it's been a big reason why they've lost 6 in a row.
So did you see in any way that Ingram was having any lingering effects of the toe injury as far as being able to move? I mean, you were courtside, that's why I'm asking. On TV, I know what I saw, but I'm more curious what you saw in the building. I don't expect his shot to be there on night one, but from an athleticism standpoint.
Yeah, the mobility was fine, and he didn't look like he was thinking about it, right? Because I saw him making all sorts of movements and cuts. He said that's what's been kind of plaguing him in delaying his return, but I didn't see any of that. And more to the point, I saw him going the extra mile in terms of defensively, right? We've seen him in the past where he doesn't give all that much effort or as not at times on that end of the floor, but he was last night. He was fouling Rudy Gobert when he was open underneath the rim. He was trying to get his hands in on blocks and steals. And more importantly, like I said, his movement. It looked good. So I think what he wanted to see was how he would react, right, just like he did after the practices. Is he going to have any soreness, right? Is there going to be any kind of pain? Because he said it's a pain tolerance issue. I'll tell you what, we asked him after the game, and he said he felt fine. There was no issues, and he expects, to bounce back and basically stay in the lineup moving forward.
Ollie, we're 2 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline. I would be shocked if they got Zion Williamson back before then. I think they've even said it's 2 weeks before they reevaluate him. So they're going to have to make a call without seeing the starting 5 back on the floor since, before Thanksgiving. So you tell me, is this team poised to make a move before the trade deadline?
They are. They've been sniffing around, just like every team does early in the season, looking under rocks. But I know that they've been a little bit more active than some other teams because they do need help, right? We see their weaknesses. They know them. They need another outside shooter. They need another more versatile defender in the paint. So I know they've been actively looking, and I've got a favorite out there because I think this offense really needs a boost. And even when they're at full strength, you can still always use a veteran shooter, especially off the bench, right? So for me, it's Bojan Bogdanovic with the Pistons. I know that they currently want an unprotected first-round pick, and I'll tell you what, Pelicans have plenty of draft assets, right? So if they don't require a 2023 pick, you don't want to deal this one, right? Because it's the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and the Pelicans, of course, have that swap rights with Los Angeles Lakers. But if the Pistons would be willing to take any future years, I think they need to make a move for somebody like him.
There are unprotected picks left over from the Drew Holiday trade that were originally from Milwaukee, correct? What's the first year they could move? What's the first year that they have one that Detroit would find acceptable, in your opinion?
Right, they do. But the first thing you've got to mention, though, is the Milwaukee Bucks. They're perennial, top 10 teams. So that's not as an inviting of a pick for most teams around the league.
That's why I want to trade it.
Right, I know. I get the logic, and I love it. But I think that, Detroit wouldn't be interested in that. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that first pick that gets conveyed to the Pelicans from that deal would be in 2025. So that's still, a couple of years away. And I know the Pistons, like, for instance, they want to start winning, right? They made some win-now moves, like signing Bojan Bogdanovic, getting Nerlens Noel, getting some vets on that team. But I think that they probably wouldn't be as interested, right, in something like that.
So what pick makes sense then? What would be agreeable to Detroit and New Orleans?
I would say it'd be next year's pick. Look, the Pelicans started off hot, right? 23-12 out of the gate, tied for first in the Western Conference, and it looked like maybe their picks won't be as valuable in the future. But now that they've kind of fallen right back into the muck of the Western Conference, and you see that this team's not as unbeatable as they looked during the season, suddenly I think their picks have to look more inviting. And I know that the starters haven't played all that much together, but if you're the Pistons, I think it's a good gamble because Zion misses games perennially every year. So does Brandon Ingram. So it would be a good bet, I think, for any team to maybe grab one of these Pels picks.
What players would we be talking about, if any, in a potential deal? I know Billy's name has come up a little bit. Personally, I'd hate to see him go because I love the way he plays, but I'm sure he'd like to get some more minutes somewhere else. And then there's the always there perspective of Jackson Hayes and his contract, which is due up. So we talking about those players, some other players, or no players?
Well, you would have to send out some players just to make, for instance, salary to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without a doubt, the top two that sit at the list are Jackson Hayes, who I just can't foresee this Pelicans team re-signing, right? He's in the last year of his deal. They didn't extend him in the last summer when they had an opportunity. And let's face it, the improvement has been minimal. He hasn't filled one of these key roles that we just talked about at the start of your show in filling that big man position. So he'd be sent off, as well as probably Devontae Graham. Devontae just hasn't shot the ball as well as I think the Pelicans front office thought he would, right, based on what he did in Charlotte. So they've got plenty of small guards. Kyra Lewis, honestly, I think needs playing time. So Devontae Graham is the next logical piece to go. Both of those guys could get you Bogdanovic back.
All right, the Pels aren't the only team that's going to be looking for a shooter at the deadline. So if Bogdanovic ends up somewhere else, who else is in the bullpen that might make sense for New Orleans?
Well, then you're looking at the Toronto Raptors and see if they're truly going to blow it up. And it sounds like they may, right? They've had a very underwhelming season. And Gary Trent is a name I've circled. I know he's a little bit smaller than I would have liked. You want somebody that's more versatile that can play probably the 3 and a 4. Trent stands about, 6'4", so he's largely relegated to the backcourt. But his shooting is on point. He's a legitimate 3-point shooter. And besides him, Pascal Siakam is supposedly on the board, OJ Anunoby, right? So OJ Anunoby is the one that I think Pels fans have really taken a liking to. Problem is, he's going to cost a lot, and he's going to need a new contract. So that's my thing. He's another role player. He's just a 3-and-D type of player. You really want to pay him, say, $20 million a year when you've got, in the wings, Trey Murphy's developing, Herb Jones, who I know his shot hasn't looked good, but I don't think you should give up hope. And, of course, Dyson Daniels. So I think some players make sense, others do not for this team. So that's why I like somebody that's more proven, right, like Gary Trent, Bogdanovich, and somebody that's not going to cost you as much in the long term, right, with both salary and picks and assets you got to send in the trade.
Ollie, we were talking before the break about this stretch coming up for New Orleans. Now that you've lost 6 straight, and as soon as you play Washington on Saturday, you got to go on the road for 3 games where you're going to be an underdog probably in all 3 of those.
Mm-hmm.
So this one feels, at least in my mind, important on Saturday to not let this thing spiral anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that way actually about last night's game, even though they were coming off, right, second night back-to-back.
I did, but I got stung. Yeah. So, yes, I did feel that way yesterday.
Right. You've got to move on, though, and you're right. You've got to take advantage of a Wizards team that hasn't been playing very well either. The Pelicans already went into Washington, right? What was it, 3 weeks ago? Beat them shorthanded, pretty handily, too. So you've got to get that one. You've got to stop this bleeding. Because if you look at the standings, right, I know the Pelicans are still fourth, but they've got, a glut of teams going all the way down to Lakers. Everybody in between, it's separated by 3 games or less. So if the Pels lose just a couple more, you could suddenly see them sitting 9th or 10th. So they've got to start getting some wins. Because I'm even seeing it with their confidence. I walked into the locker room in post-game yesterday. I've never seen it so quiet. And it's not that the faces were long, but they were dejected, right? I saw Trey. I looked at Najee. Usually these guys have been happy all season, whether they basically won or lost. But you can feel that all these losses are now taking a toll on the team's psyche. So you got to get a win. You got to shake this off.
What is the latest that you have heard on Zion Williamson?
Well, with Zion, he's progressing, right? First imaging came back this week showing that the muscle has healed. And so he's starting to ramp up, actually add some activity, let's say that. He's not ramping up anything yet, but it's going to be ball handling. It's going to be some shooting, but everything's considered light activity to where in another 2 weeks' time, there'll be another set of imaging. And hopefully by then it'll be a clear thumbs up to where he can basically take off in all his conditioning aspects and get back on the court. But as you mentioned, I think earlier, I don't expect to see him back until after the All-Star break. And personally, I don't think they should rush him back, right? These hamstring issues, can always come back on a player. And I've been told by multiple people, trainers, that it can become a chronic issue if you don't let it heal properly the first time. And with Zion's build, right, and his injury history, you can't possibly take that risk. And I don't think the Pelicans will either, right, the way they've always handled them in the past.
And Dyson Daniels?
Dyson Daniels he severely sprained his ankle, where I think I saw it even touch the way it bent, where his ankle bone touched the floor. So it wasn't a good sprain, and all Willie Green was able to tell us was that he's going to be out for a little bit of time. Translation, I think he's going to be out probably at least, say, 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks.
Call the Chiefs. Ask them what they're doing with Patrick Mahomes. He's playing Sunday. They fixed an ankle in like 15 minutes. I mean, ask them what they did. I'm kidding,
yeah,
but
I know, right?
I'm kidding, but only a little bit. I mean, it seems like that the old Marie Laveau curse, that was on the Saints for so many years, is with the Pelicans when it comes to injuries. All right, so I got to get you, before we let you go, I got to get your perspective on the whole sequence last night, from Jose's first John with the ref to 2 possessions later, I think it was, getting the tech, and then Willie Green getting run for the first time. Give me your perspective on what happened in that sequence.
The Pelicans, and especially the coaching staff, were extremely frustrated with the officiating last night. If you look in the first half, Brandon Ingram gets called for a travel where replay clearly shows he didn't travel. Najee Marshall gets fouled on what looked to be a shot attempt. They instead ruled it wasn't a shot attempt, ball out of bounds, side out of bounds. And there were other plays like that leading up to that. So Jose Alvarado, you're right. He tried to pick up a D'Angelo Russell full court, may have just put a slight hand on him, but was called for a whistle. And then, not even a minute later, he's getting called again for a foul in the box out. He just simply slammed the ball down once, didn't go flying anywhere, and immediately got called for a tech. And Willie lost it. And I'm not surprised because, like I said, it was obvious to us that it wasn't a very well officiated game. And when you consider, right, the losing streak and this and that, I think it's just a little dam burst in Willie's head. So it's the first time he's ever been ejected as a coach or as a player. So from that standpoint, it was surprising. But I'll tell you what, you can, like I said, you can see the frustrations, right? These guys are ready to stop losing, get back to winning, and it shows. Every play matters, even when you're getting whistled for fouls.
We'll see if they unleash hell on Saturday. I'm certainly hoping for that before they got to hit the road for 3 tough ones. The Bird Rights is the website. You want to follow the Pelicans, no better place to do that. Oleh, as always, we appreciate your perspective and spend a few minutes with us today. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely, Charles. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Everybody out there.
You too. Oleh Kosel from the Bird Rights. Michael Cobble from WBRZ Channel 2. When we come back, it's Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, the latest on the Sean Payton saga, and we'll recap Pels T-Wolves. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And Sean Payton's a good topic. We spent a good portion of the podcast yesterday. You can get the podcast on wherever you get podcasts, and also 1045ESPN.com. You'd think that we're about to see something with some of these teams. Senior Bowl's next week, and GMs have got to get down to Mobile. So you would think that the ones that need to hire coaches might be ready to make a move between now and say Sunday, but we'll see. Welcome in Michael Cobble from WBRZ Channel 2. About to have LSU coaches speaking all over the place. Kim Mulkey first, Matt McMahon second, and then tomorrow Jay Johnson will have what I guess amounts to the opening of LSU baseball season. It's kind of like a media day, I guess. Michael, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
I think the order is on purpose. You know, you send Mulkey out there first because things are going really good, right?
Soften up the crowd.
Yeah, a little bit.
Relax.
She can tell some jokes, vamp a little. I think that's. Let's start with the women's basketball team. You covered them for a long time. This group appears to be not just special, but maybe like almost on a mission. I mean, that game against Arkansas the other night was the first time they've had to, be in close quarters, and they responded well. The schedule's about to thicken up with Tennessee and then South Carolina. So you've been watching them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was great for them to play that game. In fact, just watching it, and as you said, having watched the teams throughout the year and watching this team specifically this year, I kept waiting for them to face a little bit of adversity because I feel like to some degree, they're not coasting, but they certainly haven't been tested. And it was great to see them, fall behind even and then have to respond. And they did that. And this team is interesting because, as you said, it's a mission, yes, but it's not that much different than the men's team when you look at the build and the makeup of it and how it was all put together. And much like we saw with Brian Kelly's football team, they were able to gel it and really kind of come into this cohesive unit that understands their roles, plays within their roles. Something the men's team's struggling with right now, right? But I just feel like they have the pieces. They are going to run into some teams that have like pieces, and then that's when the fun really starts. I don't expect them to go undefeated. They'll probably lose at South Carolina, but it'll be a good measuring stick of where they are and just how far they can get in the postseason. Because unlike other sports, women's basketball still has its 15 to 20 elite programs that kind of rule the landscape.
Michael, all due respect, the only thing that the men's and women's teams have in common at this point are the building that they share and the colors that they wear in their jerseys. That's about it. the similarities, probably they play on 10-foot goals. The similarities pretty much in there. For Angel Reese, you covered Simone Augustus. You covered Sylvia Fowles, Pokey Chapman. Neither one of us are old enough to have seen Joyce Walker play in person, but I mean, she's putting up a season for the ages that goes down with those LSU legends.
No doubt. And the thing that's different about her is that she kind of came to us as a finished product. And we saw the growth with the others, right? I think that's what's been maybe most interesting for Angel and kind of our adoption of her, right? Like we know what she is, we know what she can do, but we don't necessarily know how she got there. And I think we're seeing to some degree, the evolution on the court. And something that I'll say, too, is that I feel that her teammates really open up a lot of her ability, and her game for her as well. So there's a lot of complementary basketball going on right now. As we talked about moments ago, I feel like they've got the pieces in the right spots, and everyone kind of understands what they're supposed to be doing. They've got quality depth coming off the bench. LaDasia Williams is a player that can do a lot of the things that Angel can do, but she's not being forced to do them. No one is being forced to be the person every single night, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of their shared success.
Okay, so ESPN this weekend took a look at the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and they decided, you know what, the Texas Tech LSU game not going to be in prime time, not going to be the headliner. Texas Tech's lost 8 in a row. LSU's lost 7 in a row. Michael, watching LSU right now, frankly, it's a little bit painful. They just simply cannot score. One of these very desperate for a win basketball teams is going to get one Saturday. I just don't know if I can see LSU being that team.
It's so frustrating to watch them play, and you understand the limitations that the team has. You're just mad. I think I don't know. I feel mad watching that team. I feel mad for the guys. I feel mad because of the guys. I feel mad at the situation that the team is in, all while understanding that this is all part of the process to get back to some sort of normalcy, I guess, from what we expected. LSU basketball has never been great, right? I came to school here after Shaq, and I had some good teams, some ups and downs, but it's never been a consistent winner. And I think that's all LSU people wanted and felt like they might have some of that with Will Wade, and then that gets pulled out from underneath them. So at least the excitement was there. I feel now we're back to this boring defense-first basketball that's just not going to get people excited. And unfortunately, this team just cannot score, at all. So it's a double whammy of awfulness, right? Or a quadruple whammy, whatever it is. But it's just terrible to watch. And that's tough for Matt McMahon, who's trying to build something, and this first season is just going to be an awful foundation.
No, they were a consistent winner in the 80s. Dale had about a 10-year run, 10, 12-year run where they made the tournament pretty much every year, made a couple of Final Fours, made a couple of Elite Eights, but it's been that long to go back to where they were. I think the frustrating thing, you can tell me if you feel this way, is there were a whole basket full of schools that got caught up in this FBI thing. Okay, Arizona got caught up, Kansas got caught up, NC State got caught up, Auburn got caught up, Oklahoma State, Louisville, and LSU. And actually Louisville wasn't even that thing; it was something else. And they may be the worst basketball team in the country, but the rest of those schools didn't take the body blows that LSU did. Some of them, had just basically said, "Oh yeah, whatever you think." Kansas did for sure, and went on about their way. And at LSU, for whatever the reasoning was, the tape, I guess, decided, hey, we gotta blow this whole thing up and start from scratch. And the other schools didn't have to do that. And I think that's where the level of frustration comes from.
Absolutely. I mean, most everyone else thumbed their nose at the NCAA. Even Will was willing to do that. And I think that probably made it worse, or certainly drew more attention to LSU because of that. And ultimately, Scott felt like, they needed to do what they wound up doing. But I mean, that thing was bungled from Joe Oliva on back. So that is the frustration, right? Finally got somebody, and say what you want about Will. A lot of people think he wasn't a great game day coach. I think great players make great game day coaches. And I don't know that you're going to ever convince me otherwise, but that, he had a confidence and an air about him that Tiger fans love, a little bit of cockiness, a little bit of swagger. And that's something that I think basketball hadn't had in quite a while, and it had people excited about the fact that they were in every game. The style of play, had them in every game. I just feel like right now I'm watching Trent Johnson 2.0, it's like, at some point, you're going to have to put a brand of basketball out there that's going to get people back in the building, get them excited about it. Because right now, Charlie, everyone's on women's basketball and they're looking towards baseball season.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me,
and that's not terrible, right?
There's a lot of things that you can look forward to here. My thing with the men's team, and we'll move on to baseball, is that I expected them to struggle this year. I didn't have any great expectations. They got ramped up a little bit when they beat Arkansas and played Kentucky close, but that ship sailed. My thing is, what are you building that you'll have in place for next year? What players are you looking at that are playing now that you're like, that guy's going to be a key piece for us next year? Or this recruit is coming in who's going to really make a difference? And right now, I don't see a whole lot of that. There is the late period, and, of course, there's a portal which has change everything instantly. But right now, look, I know what's going to happen when they play these last 8 SEC games. It ain't going to be pretty. They'll win a couple, but it ain't going to be pretty. I'm kind of looking to next year is like, what are you building? What do you got on the spaceship that's good that we can save that next year is going to make a difference?
Yeah, there's not a lot to be found, but I do think maybe you take solace in the fact that, like Will Wade said, you're no longer building programs, you're building teams, and you do have a chance to turn it around relatively quickly. But you have to keep some kind of morale, some kind of, they use the word culture too much. I think you're going to have to find some positivity either in the staff and the way that they work with the guys, to be able to get the players to campus, because you're right. Right now, it's just a train wreck. And look, Charlie, the other thing is we've been taking our medicine for the first, 4 weeks of this SEC slate. It's about to get a little bit lighter and, potential for some wins. LSU was in the meat grinder to start things. It's like the men's and women's schedules were exactly flip-flopped. All the cake was early on the women's side and all the tough stuff was in the front end. I don't think that this is a good basketball team. Don't confuse me, but I do think there are some wins still left on its schedule.
Let's move on to baseball. Tomorrow, Jay Johnson will have the introductory press conference, sort of I guess kind of like a media day. He will be airing that in this time slot tomorrow. I'll be out, but
Free Friday for Charlie. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't know if you made it to first pitch the other night, but what do you want to hear from Jay Johnson tomorrow? What are the questions that you've got in your mind as they get ready to start? They're number one in most of the polls, and the expectations couldn't be any higher.
Well, I sat down with him for about a half an hour last week and got most of my stuff in, but that was it. What did you learn in year one that you're taking to year two? How are you going to handle these expectations? How are the players going to handle these expectations? He's a deliberate, methodical dude, and he's got plans for everybody, and that hasn't changed. I think he's got a better feel now, right, for what the conference delivers and how to navigate it. I know he's super impressed with his pitching staff and the amount of talent that they've been able to accumulate and upgrade there. And certainly, you don't go ahead and name yourself the powerhouse, as a marketing employee if you don't feel like you're going to get some swings in this season. They've got the lineup, man. It's really exciting to see what he's been able to do in 2 years here. And think back to, where they lost last year, but where the expectations are this year. I think it's classic LSU baseball, right? Everyone's expecting Omaha and then, to win it all. But it's weird that no one then also says, yeah, but it's only year two of Jay Johnson's program. Those are the realistic expectations, but it is still only year two. And I think that is amazing. Probably speaks a lot to what LSU baseball is and has been over the years, and hopefully will be again this season.
Yeah, Maneri made Omaha in his second year, and in the third year they won it. Johnson, that second year, sometimes when you get everything straight, you get your staff settled, you get the players that are moving forward with you are there, the ones that aren't move on. That second year, you can get a real pop, and obviously with the transfer portal guys that they're bringing in and the recruiting class and what they got back, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it. What's coming up with you guys on WBRZ?
I'm still running some of that Jay Johnson interview as we kind of work our way through it. I went to Angola with the women's basketball team yesterday for a visit that they did, and I'll probably be bringing some of that to the TV tonight. It's an interesting trip. There's a lot of questions about, like, why would you do something like that and what's the benefit? I'm going to try to answer some of that tonight as Kim brought her players up there. Some of the girls didn't want to go because it hit too close to home, and that's certainly understandable as well. But the thing that I really appreciate, and it's true of most coaches, right? But I think that Kim certainly personifies this, is it's not just about the person as a player. It's about the person as a human being and their growth, and the things that they do to kind of, make sure that they're good citizens, make sure that they understand the advantages and the benefits that they have because of where they are. And I think that's a little bit about what yesterday was.
Michael, as always, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the day, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Les.
All right. That was a less. I was wondering if you'd catch that. Michael Cowell from WBRZ Channel 2. We'll take a break, come back with some of your questions. It's Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Well, you know what? At Big Mike's right now, what do we do? Live music every weekend. It's starting tonight with Taylor Naughton on Friday, Jared Kelly, and on Saturday, Titanium Rain over at Big Mike's. And right now, ball crawfish every day starting at 11 a.m. You know what? I may come in here smelling a crawfish one day next week. I'm just going to go get some crawfish. I'll take you guys with me. We'll go get some crawfish, and then we'll come in here and do the show. I think they were trying to barbecue in here today. And then I found out, nope, they just turned on the heater for the first time in 6 months. But or almost a year, actually. Big Mike's on Aspen Boulevard, part of the very fabric of Denham Springs. You go in there on a Sunday, NFL, Joe Burrow Day on Sunday. Happy hour drink prices start at 11 o'clock and last all day. It's 3 to 7 for happy hour, Monday through Friday. Denham Springs Hall of Fame out in the front to tell you how important the community is to them at Big Mike's. And the Denham Springs Parade coming up, guess who the Grand Marshal is? That's right, Big Mike himself. Head on by on Aspen Boulevard at Big Mike's. We're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Moon Griffon is back, the voice of Louisiana politics.
Me, Jimmy Ott, and Charles Hennigrove for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on North facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannigrove on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right. Some questions here. Am I superstitious enough that I hoped LSU's baseball program wouldn't be ranked number one? I don't really care all that much. That's not one of the superstitions that I have. I get a lot more nervous when everybody steps on the lines. You know, I'm kind of like that. Or, you know, if you don't wear the same whatever, I don't know, wristband, undershirt, whatever. If you go, 8 for 12, you better be wearing the same thing. I'm superstitious about stuff like that. Okay, at times I would drive Jim crazy in the booth because if things were going well, I wouldn't move. You want to breathe over there? No, if I breathe, they might make it out. Things like that. Being number one is not something that something that bothers me. Breaking local radio host calls for Brian Kelly firing. No, I didn't say that. I didn't accuse anybody of anything. All I'm telling you is that $1 million doesn't go missing just by accident. It just doesn't. Okay, so I'm not telling you I know what happened or whatever going on. I'm just telling you that this is an accounting mistake that is not likely. Okay, that's my opinion and my opinion only. I don't know what happened. I don't know who screwed up. I'm just telling you that $1 million doesn't get, found in the seat cushions. Okay, it's a significant amount of money. What was the other question? I've been to the Angola rodeo. Yeah, about 15 years ago, something like that. And a group of us went up there. It's interesting. I was glad I went. We actually we had fun on the trip. Yeah, I did go to the rodeo at one point. Okay, tomorrow I will be out. The Jay Johnson press conference will air for most of this block, and then Hunt will take over a little bit before his show would ordinarily start. For Taylor and Mario, I'm Charles. Thank you, and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt